Mark, it's good to be here with you and chatting to you today about
And
SASE.
you, Khalid, yeah, perfect.
Very, very pertinent and topical conversation.
Certainly is.
Many of our customers are raising this, coming to talk to us about SASE. We're seeing in the industry analysts like Gartner are predicting massive growth in the SASE industry at the moment. We're seeing figures of 7 billion growing to 25 billion by 2027 over just a course of 5 years, which is phenomenal growth.
Yep.
So what are you seeing here when you're having conversations with customers, with CISOs? What are the sort of topics, what are the conversations you're hearing? What are their concerns about SASE?
Yeah, so it's a good question. So obviously when Gartner came up with the idea of SASE in 2019, that they said it was going to take about 5 years to mature as a converged platform of networking and security. And it's been a problem for our customers, right? That convergence of network and security. They're different teams. They don't necessarily have the same outcomes and goals required. How do they create something that works together? So we've seen that there's been a number of options. So both Gartner and Forrester have told us that a lot of SD-WAN customers, when they've taken a cloud security solution, they haven't gone for a single vendor. They've chosen an expert, existing, trusted SSE type vendor and added that. So what they're now calling that choice is multi-vendor SASE. So there are even now parts of Gartner and Forrester that are looking at that as part of the market. So whether people choose a single vendor SASE solution or a multi-vendor SASE solution. So I guess at Colt, we're supporting both of those, right? So, and you've been working with Versa for a long time doing their service. What have we seen from our Versa customers and our SD-WAN customers? What have they made in terms of a choice with SASE?
Yeah, so I think when we're speaking with customers, the first thing we want to say to customers is just take a stop. Have a think about, start with your business objectives.
Right.
Before you delve into which is the best approach to take, to adopt when it comes to SASE, think about your wider business drivers, your wider business objectives.
Yeah.
That should then help inform your transformation strategy. What is that transformation strategy when it comes to your digital infrastructure? Then take stock on where you are today. What is your starting point?
Yeah.
Assess your current environment, and then think about what those objectives are. At that point, you can then look at what the transformation journey might look like. And as you say, there's a number of different strategies that you can employ, single vendor, multi-vendor strategies.
Yeah.
And ultimately, our advice to customers is to really let the requirements drive the right adoption strategy.
Right, and there are quite a few requirements now, aren't there? So you've got things like the growth in cybersecurity issues or data privacy type issues, compliance areas, whether you're deploying zero trust using a SASE solution, those types of aspects, they're all very front and center in business people's minds. Where do we do these and how do we do these? So I suppose, why are we seeing that we think that this combination now it's the right time for people to adopt, do you think? Has it matured to that point, or are these other pressures so much that it has to be now? What do you think about that?
Well, I think if we think back to the changes of the last 10 years, they've been phenomenal. Even before COVID, we started to see a change in the workforce. Businesses are always looking for that competitive edge, looking to innovate.
Right.
And ultimately how they do business is impacted by, how successful they can be within their respective markets. So we've seen this scenario where workers are becoming much more mobile, less location dependent. We're seeing these applications moving en masse from the data center to the cloud. Infrastructure as a service and software as a service is really dominating the market at the moment. And as a result, some of those traditional infrastructures, both networking and security, are no longer fit for purpose. And this is really where SASE as a framework, of course it's not a product, it's a framework, an architectural framework, really comes to the fore, because it's about this convergence between networking and security, how you secure access to a user's data and their applications, which is fundamentally what we're providing with the SASE. At the same time, doing this securely and efficiently in the most effective way possible. But the other key consideration when we're thinking about security and we're thinking about access is how we protect that end user experience. Because ultimately the end user experience, which is, that directly correlates to workforce productivity, and that's ultimately what businesses are concerned with.
Yeah, and we've seen a number of vendors coming in with that sort of digital experience management add-on to their services, right? And those cloud security services, etc. over this time. I think that's an important aspect, isn't it? We should be just thinking all about it is how you get your customers' experience. So CX and UX really is a big thing at the moment, really, isn't it? In the buzzwords in the industry. Do you think other sort of buzzwords in the industry at the moment? I suppose we talked about zero trust as a big one in cloud and cloud security. What about AI? Is that making any difference within the SASE world at the moment, driving anybody to take on SASE services at the moment?
Well, I think just going back to, you mentioned a really good point there about zero trust. And
Right.
I think when you're thinking about zero trust network access, you really do need to think about networking and security as a holistic and as a comprehensive solution when you're looking at your architecture.
Yep.
And I think this is what's driving the conversation around SASE, because it's, we've always had network, we've always had security and how you secure that access to your data and your applications.
Yep.
But now in this new ecosystem where applications are everywhere, users are everywhere, it's about how do we effectively and securely provide that access to customers and their data.
Yeah, so from the security perspective, that's a very good point. The attack surface has grown massively. You've changed all of the locations of your data and your applications and your users accessing those. So the only way really to secure that is to have that contextual aware zero trust access to all of those things, which is, it's actually not an easy thing to do because you're changing an architecture that's been based on unfettered access. As soon as you're on the network, you can access everything, that's fine.
Yeah.
And we've had that for the last 20, 30 years. And suddenly you're turning around and going, no, that's not the way. TCP IP works like that, right? As soon as you get onto a network, you are enabled to connect to everything. Zero trust goes, no, you're not allowed to connect to anything. You've got to have user and context. So that's a difficult thing to layer over. And I guess
but when you think about it, it's quite a logical step, isn't it, in terms of security, when you think about the concepts of zero trust and least privilege access.
Yeah.
But we're also starting to see, I think, regulation and compliance issues that are coming to the fore. I mean, what are you seeing from customers in terms of, new regulations and how that might impact how they secure their network?
Yeah, it's huge, actually. I think there's a bit of a pressure cooker going on at the moment for people that are responsible for data privacy and security, where they've got a lot of threat coming from one direction, nation state, organised cybercrime, all that type of stuff. And there's another threat coming from the other direction, which is the amount of compliance and regulatory and directives that are coming at them from industry, organisation, regions that want to protect, GDP, for example, and protect their businesses by forcing them to look at things properly and think about data properly and think about cybersecurity properly. So, and hence that pressure is something we're really having to help our customers with at the moment, trying to make things easy for them to move to that regulatory compliance area where things like zero trust are coming in with NIST 2 and with the federal US government looking at that to be the right thing of doing things. So it's not an easy time to after COVID, we've allowed everybody to work from home and moved all the data and applications to the cloud. But now we're coming in and we need to bring these new security models onto that. Not an easy thing to do for our customers. So I think during this series of conversations, we'll talk to some of our partners about their SD-WAN services, their SASE services, and their SSE services, and the way that Colt pulls those things together. And hopefully we'll get some interesting insights from them about our customers' approach, how they should think about things at this point. What do you think we are really moving towards in terms of Colt in the future then? Where are we going? Are we going to have 20 different SASE vendors, all these different options and services put together so that we can just ask customers, which vendor do you fancy? Or how are we going to do things in the future, do you think?
Interesting question. I think that's one that we're obviously looking into from a product perspective. What we are doing and what we are seeing in the market is we've seen an evolution over time We saw in the early days, particularly in the SD-WAN space, we saw the early pioneers. You know, they were looking for a technology play. They were looking for a particular vendor that had the right mix of technology to implement. And then we've started to see a shift more to managed services. So customers are looking more for a partner that can deliver business outcomes, and therefore technology perhaps takes a secondary priority with those customers. But at the same time, we see with some of our larger customers, they have a much clearer idea around what they want when it comes to SASE, when it comes to networking specifically, but also from a security perspective. So I think it's still, I think it's still in flux at the moment. I think we're keeping a keen eye out by being in a unique position where we can offer both single vendor SASE solutions from leading vendors, Versa, VMware, Cisco, etc. And then of course multi-vendor by incorporating leading cloud security providers. I think we're ideally positioned to, you know, to be able to advise and help customers on this journey without being you know, vendor biased in any particular way. We can act as that trusted advisor.
Absolutely, and also importantly, put the correct service stack around that, right? So some customers would like to do all of this themselves. They've got some in-house capabilities of these things. They want to be able to self-drive this. There are other customers that actually don't want to touch it at all. Sometimes it's different regionals, right? Some parts of the world really like completely outsourcing their service like this. Other parts, they're much more now, we need to look after that stuff ourselves. And then there's a lot of our customers that want to blend, right? A sort of like a co-managed service, a helping service to get the best out of a platform, but not pure managed control, so they can make their own changes to it. What do you think the best way forward with our customers is for that? Is it, how do they make that sort of decision?
I think the core managed model, we see the majority of customers that approach both SD-WAN and SASE are really coming at it from a co-managed perspective.
Right.
So customers still need, in that co-managed model, they need the right partner that can really help them get on this journey. So how do they evaluate their current infrastructure, their current scenario? How do they really identify a transformation journey? Because ultimately every customer is unique. There isn't one size that fits all for every customer. So they need the right partner that can help them on this journey to deliver whatever business outcomes they're looking for. So, you know, working with a partner like Colt, we can really help them take a tailored approach to how they go on this individual journey and help identify, based on their own individual circumstances, what is the best model for them. You know, is it single vendor? Is it multi-vendor? Is it a co-managed? Is it a fully managed approach? You know, there are different requirements, require different solutions. You know, do they have the right skills within their organization? You know, are they able to take on a multi-vendor approach? You know, are they able to take a co-managed approach or a complete DIY approach? So depending on their individual circumstances, we can certainly help them tailor the right solution for them.
That sounds perfect. Well, I look forward to hearing from our partners during some of these conversations. Look forward to speaking to you again after we've heard from some of our partners as well, and wrapping up this sort of series of videos.
Likewise, it's been a pleasure.
Thanks.
Thank you.